I can be very focused and directed. I don't particularly enjoy it, but I can.
Yeah, a lot of people are using that was my recent exploration, are using the uppers to aid in focus, Adderall or whatever. Of course, we live in a very competitive world now compared to what it was some time ago.
Mm.
So not knowing exactly what you're doing, yeah, I wouldn't understand the stresses you're under.
Not having a valid picture ID limits what you can do quite a lot. I am finding
You mean something like a driver's license?
something like a driver's license. Yeah, you're limited in what you're able to accomplish.
Oh, rightio. I suppose there could be some federal alternative in America, like some sort of identity card or something like that.
Well, yeah, but it amounts to the same thing. You just need a valid picture ID.
Oh, rightio. So you're planning to get one, are you?
Don't
Or
get
you're
me.
going to have trouble proving you exist?
It's an adventure. It's an adventure.
Yeah, I still have my birth certificate, which I had to grab about 40 years ago or something.
Yeah, well, yeah, yeah, that's involved. You wanna I had to send this in. You wanna look at that? You wanna look at that?
Yes, yes, may as well. Yes.
You wanna look at that? Open that up. Now you see what that is? Now that's the original document. It's a 54-year-old document at this point. You want to know what the response was? Would you like to know what the response was?
uh,
You know what
the,
their
the,
response was?
this was
You know what
documented
the,
as too
you know what the,
archaic.
you know what their response was? Would you like to guess what their response was?
I just
Go ahead and
did.
guess.
The document is too archaic.
Illegible. 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 Illegible.
You need somebody who can decode cursive writing. Of course, I was amazed at my mother's ability to
I
read.
want you to notice something. I want you to notice something. I want you to notice the father, the father's last name. Now, how could the father's last name be any different from the child's last name? How could the child's last name be different from the father's last name? It has to be the same, right? It would have to be the same. There's no other way it could be anything different except the same name. It would have to be the same name, Andy, R-S-O-N. It has to be. It has to be. Now look at the child's first name. What possibly could that possibly be? What could it be? You see the D, you see the A, you see the V, you see the I.
Right.
What
There's some.
could it be? Is it David E, David E, David I, David O? What else could it possibly be? You tell me. What could it be? What
Well, I'll go for
possibly?
David, being a
How
bit
many options are there here?
laissez-faire. David.
So, since this document is illegible, you know what I have to do? You know what I have to do? Do you know what I have to do? I have to get a replacement. I have to get a replacement copy. I have to get a replacement birth certificate copy of
Oh,
my.
I see.
I
It's
have to get
the
a replacement.
damage.
I have to get a replacement. So Do you know how to get a replacement birth certificate? You know how to? You know how? You know how to? You know how? You have to fill out a form. You know what the form needs? Do you know what the form needs? Would you like to guess what the form needs? It needs to be notarized. The form needs to be notarized. That means it needs to be signed in the presence of a notary. You have to sign the form in the presence of a notary. Do you know what a notary needs? Would you like to know? Would you like to know what a notary needs? Take a guess. Take a guess what a notary needs, Stephen. What does a notary need? What does a notary need?
We mean there's formal
A
people.
picture ID.
Ah, right. So you're in
A
a
picture ID. A notary needs you to show a picture ID. Do you see the problem? Do you see the problem? Do you see the problem? Do you see the problem?
okay. So you haven't had a picture ID
You're
from
starting to
a
see the
time when you
problem.
could
You're starting to
easily
see
obtain one.
what I've been
Mm.
going through for a while now. You're starting to see.
All right. So there's damage to your birth certificates, which sort of uh,
A parent can request a replacement birth certificate for their child. That is possible. My father also does not have a picture ID. So he needs to get his driver's license. In order to get his driver's license, he needs to get his eyeglass prescription updated. You're starting to see. You're starting to see what I've been going through.
that's going to be a question when I renew my license next year, whether I get a admit to the eyeglass restriction. Okay. So how long's this been raging for you? A week or two, has it?
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and delete that.
Well, my psychiatrist, when I was in my 20s, my psychiatrist claimed I was a person that probably couldn't handle stress too well.
Okay. Um, but well, the main issue here is, of course, all the people I am, let's say, employing to accomplish everything that needs to be accomplished for this YouTube channel. They have to be paid. PayPal, which works just fine right up until it doesn't. And then it stops working until you show them valid picture ID, proving that you are who you are. At which point, unless you do that, then PayPal doesn't work any longer. So I had to switch to an alternate method, and the alternate method has a cap of, well, it's 3,500. I've already gone through half of that. So so at this point, yeah, I have to call a halt to all of the activity because I can't pay anybody anymore until the channel launches, which I was hoping to get a backlog, but obviously that's just not going to happen. So I'm going to have to launch earlier than I expected. So, but the idea is, well, the theory is that it takes approximately more or less about 10 videos before you get monetized. I have about 10 at the moment. but it's gonna be close. Gonna be close. It's gonna be close. It's gonna be close. It's gonna be close. I was hoping to wait a while, but all right, we'll 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 have to do it. The channel has no nutritional value whatsoever. It's just cotton candy. It's true crime without the true part.
Yeah, yeah. Natalia will send me a few messages. She's worked her full week.
Hmm.
She started a job, and it's what she wants. So, full-time job with as an assistant child educator, which is what she needs to get permanent residency. So it'll be a question, how well she sort of holds up.
Does she have any interest in like the actual pedagogy of child psychology and child development?
Oh,
Is
I
that
think that's waned a little bit. She's been studying she was studying for a couple of years. And of course, a lot of it is full of the weirdo, politically correct stuff, indigenous sexuality and all the other nonsense.
I used to look into a lot of that a long time ago. There's some interesting things going on, but I don't know if she's interested at all in that.
Well, of course, it's at the moment she's doing mostly childcare. I suppose the educator element will start to show up at sort of a 6 month review. And of course, it's a situation where you need to apply yourself. And as we know, as you said, there's the existential and there's the escapist. And of course, she has a strong escapist element in her.
Okay.
And it doesn't quite help her, pursuing the task.
Well, be interesting to ask her. Is she interested in anything else? Like, you can actually do major in philosophy and become a teacher. Don't know.
Yeah, well, so the thing is, she's doing it to get permanent residency. And
Oh,
of course, if she gets permanent residency, then it's sweet. She can do what she likes almost. After about 4 years, you get full social security benefits, which in Australia are quite handy. America has a lot of welfare by looks of things, but it's all different sorts of stuff. It's not quite the straightforward welfare you get in Australia. I was noticing all the stuff about the food stamps. A couple of weeks ago, we on the after existential group, a few Americans who were, complaining about the food stamp situation. But I think that's sort of come to some resolution now, hasn't it? Yeah, let's just see the nature of life. It's well, we live in a very complicated information system now, where you have to prove you exist.
yeah. Well, yeah. Well, everybody needs your ID. everybody, including healthcare. You can't get healthcare without showing a picture ID.
Yeah, I'm not too sure, but yeah, there is in Australia. I think there is some sort of card you can get if you don't have a driver's license.
Yeah, you can do that too. It's just, but
You
it
need a
amounts to the same.
a
It's the same.
picture ID to start it off.
It's the
You need
same
a
thing.
picture ID to get a picture ID.
Yeah, right. It's the same process. It's exactly the same process. You still need exactly the same documents. Like, for example, something with your name and address on it, like a phone bill or a utilities bill, something as long as it's got your name and address on it. But,
There's not too much that's got your name and address on it by
well,
saying.
none of the utilities are in my name. I don't own anything. I do have a phone, but Mint Mobile doesn't give out monthly bills. I finally have a phone, smartphone.
The ordinary mobile sort of phone.
This is my Samsung Galaxy smartphone.
Alrighty, which model?
Samsung Galaxy smartphone. Yeah, Android, I guess it is.
Yeah, the Samsung's the Android.
I
They've got all different model names. So did you buy the cheapest variety or did you go up market?
I think it wasn't the cheapest, no, but it was like, yeah, 250, something like that.
It'd be about 400 Australian.
Yeah, probably.
So it's still not quite the cheapest.
No.
Okay, Frost and Fire. I didn't mind this one too much. Uh,
Okay, well, the thing is, okay, we started with Moby Dick, which was the movie,
yes.
which was screenplay written by Ray Bradbury.
Oh, alrighty, I didn't realise.
Which is a very tenuous connection and why I decided because the comic is the adaptation of the movie. So I figured I'll throw it in as a Ray Bradbury comic. It's a very, very tenuous Ray Bradbury comic. If you skipped it, that's perfectly all right. But it was something connected to Ray Bradbury in comics form. So it was Ray Bradbury's screenplay for the movie, which this was an adaptation of. Okay, just wanted to let you know on that one.
I'm trying to figure out now. Richard Basehart played the
And
young guy,
yeah,
if I remember correctly.
and and yeah, and yeah,
And the
it's
captain was played by, I can't remember who played the captain. Some notable uh, character. I was thinking I was a bit busy, otherwise I would have gone through it.
a very tenuous Ray Bradbury comic because it's an adaptation of the movie that Bradbury wrote the screenplay for, and one of Bradbury's poems in a comic. I'm sure you probably skipped that one too. That's fine. Okay, moving on.
Oh, rightio, okay. I see. Why Viking Land and Mars? Oh, right. Okay. Why?
Bradbury has written quite a number of poems, which I'm sure you have no interest in.
Oh, okay. So these humans are living on an alien planet and seem to have a very short lifespans for some strange reason, which was beyond me,
The what I gathered it was radiation poisoning of some kind.
which accelerated their growth and killed them at the same time.
That was what I was picking up, yeah. I've read the original story. Yeah, the impression I got was there's some kind of radiation poisoning happening.
Well, yeah, I did notice a few people were a bit critical of it. I don't know. I quite liked it. Didn't bother me. In fact, I'd say I like this artwork.
Klaus Janson is appealing to my eye as well. I like Klaus Janson's art. Uh, he's had quite a long career. He's probably best known for the stuff he did with Frank Miller, but I like his the way he draws his art. Mm. Yeah, he's underrated, I think. Yeah, it's not one of Bradbury's better known stories, but
Well, it's an interesting introduction in any case. It's a curious story.
yeah, I thought Janson did a good adaptation of it, actually. I mean, as good as we've read a lot of Bradbury by now, comics. This is, yeah, a decent adaptation of the story.
Of course, Bradbury has his haters as well.
Sure.
He's found his way on the starship. Manages to take off.
And we end.
Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. That was a Ray Bradbury script. Yes, I was slightly aware of that one.
I think we've seen this story adapted before, The Lighthouse.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but here's another adaptation of it. I think this ends our Bradbury comics adventure. I think we've done all of them now. There's one more Bradbury bit of business that I think we'll get to around February. But it's not a Bradbury thing. It's a book in celebration of Ray Bradbury, which is not stories by Ray Bradbury, but stories in celebration of Ray Bradbury. I think we'll get to it in February. But then that will be the end of our Bradbury pursuit. We've now completed all of Ray Bradbury's comics.
Okay, now let's see, Donald Duck, which I did get through the entirety of. Okay, I always wondered what happened to Volume 1. I'd assumed you'd given me Volume 1 and I'd lost it somewhere.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we started in February and we started with volume two. So this is now volume one. Yeah, right. So these are the very first duck stories Carl Barks did.
The very first mainstream comics, well, comic books, so to
I
speak.
I think he did a couple things before the ducks, but no, these are the first duck stories. But I think he did do a handful. It's not a lot, but it's a couple of things before he did this.
As some of the imagery was by another artist.
Some of the artwork, yeah, he just wrote script. Some of the comics he just wrote script for. That's right. So this was the beginning. Yeah, the very first Donald Duck story Carl Barks wrote and drew, Pirate Gold. All
Okay,
started.
Four Color.
That's right. Yeah, four color comic.
And later comics might have been an extra color, were they, or five color or something like that.
Uh, well, yeah, wasn't it cyan, magenta, yellow, black? Yes, CYMK. Cyan, yellow, magenta, black.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that was on the newspaper machine. That was about the.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah, four color. CMYK.
Okay, looked at the claims in the back, and they're saying that this he used this story to convince the publishers that he could do something bigger than the comic strips he'd been doing. He could do a sort of a full story.
All right. I think it's really fascinating. It's really interesting to see where he began and how far he advanced very quickly.
There's a war movie, Battle of the Bulge, which is heavily criticised, although it was a very amusing film to watch. And the guy who plays the Nazi general he's a colonel, that's right. He's complaining to his general. He shows his general a chocolate cake they'd captured in the Battle of the Bulge. The general goes, "Why are you showing me a chocolate cake?" And he says, "Well, this chocolate cake, the icing's still fresh. This was shipped from America. The Americans still have fuel to fly a flipping chocolate cake uh, to Europe." And it shows up in these Donald Duck comics. He could have been looking at a Donald Duck comic and complaining, the Americans have the excess industrial capacity to produce comics for children
Yeah. Yeah.
while we're fighting with our back to the wall.
Mhm. Yeah.
So this artwork, there's something slightly different about it from what we see later. I don't know if it's something to do with the printing.
Well, I mean, just in terms of Barks's style, I mean, any artist that's going to grow and evolve over the years. And I think it's very interesting to see an artist's evolution.
Well, look at the shadows here. Now, I think later on he would have almost invariably used black, wouldn't he be, or something far darker? Or it could be the comic, it could be the reproduction.
He, it's really interesting to see him learning and figuring out what works and figuring out how best to do things.
Like this has got very jagged imagery around, the feathers at the top of the duck's heads. Yeah, a lot of detail, but like somehow he stylized and simplified it later on. Slum Goyen, pour it in there, lads.
Yeah, he was decently good to start with, right out of the gate. But man, he turned into one of the all timers.
Yeah, well, this doesn't quite match his later work. It's
Well, no.
interesting. It's interesting to see something a bit different from his later style.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see where an artist begins and where they travel to, how they evolve and grow. He had some pretty good chops to start with, but man, he became incredible, a master.
And he certainly loved drawing ships.
Hmm.
It's some type of a brigantine rig. The brigantine rig is two masts, because you have the that large particular sort of sail at the end. Gee, Uncle Donald, you can talk like a sailor almost as well as Yellowbeak. He's found himself a captain's hat, which the parrot doesn't like.
I think the layout is interesting because it's three tiers, one, two, three, and then he eventually transitions to four tiers, one, two, three, four, and sticks with that.
And so, what is unusual in these scenes?
These are the mice characters.
Yes, he doesn't seem to have used them all that often later on. It was always dog faces.
Yeah. Yeah, he's working things out, trying to, and this is the first story he ever did. Duck story, I mean. Working out what's gonna work well for him and how best to do duck stories. For that matter, you don't see a lot of talking parrots.
We did, yeah, talking parrots. That's right. He did feature parrots in a few of his other stories, but they weren't speaking English.
Yeah. He's working out his comedy rhythm, how best to do comedy in comics. He eventually worked it out perfectly. But, it's interesting to see the evolution.
There's a boat grown a third mast, or maybe it's meant to be a different boat.
This is what I've
Okay.
said before. That's how you get better. You learn by doing. The more you do it, the better you're going to get. Assuming you're applying yourself, actually trying.
Vacation map.
Mhm. Hollywood is not actually an official city. It's a neighborhood in Los Angeles.
Well, a suburb, yeah.
Yeah, it's a neighborhood in Los Angeles, but it's not officially a city itself.
Well, it's an example of the doom of what was once a God-fearing race. It's what happens to man when he deserts the theoretical God, or the new one. Of course, this sort of journey, this seems to be road travel or standard vacation map. So this was an era, of course, we had the train. Fairly ordinary people having cars in America was only something that was about 30 years old when this story was created. So I mean, so it's an era that's not all that far from the horse and buggy, although trains made a great difference. But the train network had only reached the point that could take you to all those places probably by the latter part of the 1890s or something like that. Parrots having eggs for breakfast.
Right. Don't think about it.
The old cannonball falling on your head trick. There's been a lot of that.
Yeah, he's working out comedy gags, how to do them in comics, how to do them effectively. And how to do action and panel to panel continuity in comics. Learning on the job, doing a fine job. Yeah, you can see him almost growing page by page, almost.
Well, he'd been doing the newspaper cartoons for a few years, hadn't he?
I think so. I think so, yeah. I'm sure we'll get to those in due time.
A shark. He's had sharks in a few of his comics. Okay, Island Paradise, complete with bananas. Right, bananas are cultivars. So it'd have to be a farm, but it seems to be a deserted island type of thing, is it?
Mhm.
He's got a little story here, you know, a little bit of artwork, bottom and top.
His sense of design and visual impressions certainly was sharp from the beginning.
I don't think there's any stories in this one that I saw as a kid.
Yeah, I don't think I saw this one either. I don't think it got reproduced very much.
All right, so the parrot had the missing part of the map tattooed to his chest. All right, traditional treasure chest.
Right.
I don't know how they managed to pull it out of the hole with that amount of metal in it.
Yeah.
Uh, Gold, I suppose, silver doubloons, fairly heavy metal. The old rock falling on the head. Oh, it's a coconut. Coconut falling on the head.
Yeah. Pacing and structure. He's still learning. I mean, yeah, obviously he's a bit clumsy at the moment, but it's his very first outing for Duck Stories. But he was still very young and very, very new to drawing comics.
Somehow, Parrot and Donald have been put in position of the swabs. So these were 1943. Well, and this is his following one, I suppose, and it's starting to take on its more usual sort of form. It's got Heckle and Jekyll
Hmm.
lookalikes in this one.
Hmm.
Oh, the old dress up as a woman routine.
Yeah.
You see this little scene here?
Yeah.
That would have been a typical scene from the time. That, you know, they're often events on a scrap of land somewhere. Of course, people used to dress in their more formal clothing back then, suits and whatever.
Uh-huh.
So that would have been, you know, a go-to thing in those days, which were uh, sort of left behind in a sense. There weren't as many amusements back then, as many distractions, and so a distraction like this would have, you know, invisible seeds. The lucky rabbit's foot.
Mhm.
Okay, a gorilla. But he didn't do a gorilla like that ever again.
Uh,
He's got some pig faces there.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, he's already starting to develop a lot of the standard tropes that he was going to be using for Donald and the nephews and the stories.
Oh, this one's all dog faces.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, he's getting a good feel for the whole enterprise. Yeah, you can see him learning on the job.
Well, let's see. This isn't exactly Daisy Duck, is it? But I don't know
Mm.
if Daisy Duck's showing up in the comics yet.
Yeah, not quite yet.
She does show up in this this group, this volume. Mini duck, that we don't see again, do we?
I think that's mini mud hen, but no. Yeah. Sometimes there's, you know, characters only make one appearance.
Okay. The Dude Ranch. Oh, it's a well, an interesting little illustration there. But
Hmm.
again, he doesn't quite ever do something like this one again with the way he's arranged the colours there.
Hmm.
Or maybe somebody else has been inking it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Lemonade, limeade, ginger beer, root ale, malted soda, Coca Pop. Drink sparingly, gas in water.
Hmm.
He's found his way to the wrong ranch.
Hmm. Right. Right. Right.
Okay, we've got Daisy Duck here.
I think this is, yeah, this is Daisy now. Yeah.
Okay, so I assume that the earlier duck was a proto daisy.
I guess. Yeah. Mhm.
Benny Hill. You must have seen a few Benny Hills at some point, I
I
assume.
remember Benny Hill.
Well, he had a hit song which I rather enjoy still, over 50 years ago. Uh, Ernie, he drove the fastest milk cart in the West. Uh,
Mm.
Featured a lady in it called Sue, who he and Two-Ton Ted were fighting over. And he described her as haughty, height, and proud, which should probably sum up Daisy Duck.
Maybe.
Okay, he's obviously spent some time trying to work out these traps. Okay, he's got another rat face.
Yeah. I mean, they weren't. They were, yeah, unusual, sporadically used, but yeah, not often.
He's come up with this rather convoluted plot. So they've got the ancient ring.
Yeah.
So he's got the, there must have been a name for this heavy dude, sort of Black Pete sort of character.
Yeah, he's usually either Black Pete or Peg Leg Pete.
This was back in the age when you did have bullies like that wandering around.
Hmm.
Pre World War II. And of course, today in today's world, you've got a whole load of troublemakers on the street,
Sure.
but they lack the individual streak that they had back in those days. Yeah, back in those days, of course, you weren't allowed to loiter. You could only loiter with a cop's permission, and you were told to move on if you looked like you were no good.
Mhm.
And they wonder why that they've got all this trouble in the American cities now. Well, there you go. Nothing new. There was the easy cure. Move on, either go about your business or go home. Okay, these are dog faces.
Yeah. Yeah, other animals besides dogs and pigs, not unheard of, but yeah, somewhat sparingly used.
Stand aside, bud. We have diplomatic business on this tub.
Yeah.
You don't say. Of all the phonies I ever saw, you guys are the phoniest.
An old mid-century word. Phonies. Don't hear that too often these days.
Well, Black Pete has dressed himself up as a mummy.
Yeah. Yeah, you get the sense that Karl Barks is making himself at home in the duck's world, figuring out how to accommodate his predilections and interests and concerns into this duck universe.
He's got one of the Sea People mercenary guards from the Ramesses period.
Hmm.
Hail, hail, the gang's all here.
Hmm.
Tin in the back of the head. He's having fights with his neighbour across the fence.
Neighbor Jones, first appearance. First appearance of Neighbor Jones. We'll see him.
Ah, that's right. Yeah, the character comes out.
We see him quite a bit in future, but this is his number one appearance.
Well, this has got me a bit curious. Obviously, anybody could see the similarity to Daffy Duck.
Right. You know, I it's anybody's guess, but I'm not entirely convinced that that's what Karl Barks had in mind. Like specifically, he was deliberately had Daffy Duck in mind. He might have, he might not have. My guess is he probably didn't.
Okay, the last one, which is a Pluto
Yeah,
comic.
this is a non-Duck comic story, but it is about a Disney character. It's a Pluto. Actually, this is not Carl Barks drawing. This is just Carl Barks scripting, doing the writing.
Okay, right, yeah.
Yeah, this is not Carl's artwork. Just did the script.
Well, this is quite elaborate about a bomb in the bone. They're constantly switching out the dog's putting it in place. Pluto's taking it out, putting
Yeah,
it back in place. Here's a bone for you, Pluto.
yeah.
I thought chicken bones were supposed to be bad for dogs because they break up in the sharp pieces.
Yeah, maybe. Well, maybe.
Okay, the shading looks a bit interesting.
Yeah, that's but I do believe that's Zipatone. They would sell sheets of Zipatone and you X-Acto knife them into the shape and you paste them onto the
Ah,
artboard. That's Zipatone. They don't make it anymore.
I got the spies in black. Torpedo tube on a destroyer. Yeah, they had sort of rotating torpedo tubes in that period. Although earlier along they would have had set pieces like that if you went back to World War One. But this is supposed to be a modern destroyer. So Pluto must be the underdog.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't do too many non-Duck Disney comics, but he did just a bare handful. We did see one Mickey Mouse that he did oh, some months ago. You recall that one?
Yeah, vaguely remember. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, he just would stick to the ducks. So very few non-duck Disney stories. Very few. He didn't even draw this one. He just wrote the script for it. I've forgotten who the artist was. It says in the back, doesn't it? Well, it says table of contents.
It's quite an amount of comic for a fairly simple story.
Right.
And by the looks of things, doesn't show any close-ups of the humans. It was the bad dog's master.
So art was Bruce Bushman. Bruce Bushman was the art. And actually, it wasn't Bark solo scripting. Nick George and Jack Hanna co-wrote it with him.
Okay, so everything's pretty much from the dog's point of view, the
Right.
humans.
Right. Right.
The human world is a mysterious world, except for bones and dog food. It's Newton's dog. The dog didn't realize what it had done. Well, what's the story? The dog ruined some of Newton's work and ate his copy or something like that.
Not familiar with that. And the some of the newspaper gag strips. So let's see the dailies. These are just plotted by Karl Barks. Al Taliaferro on the artwork. Yeah, these are just some of the dailies.
So in the end, Bark was doing all the artwork for his later series of comics.
Well, for the comics, yeah. The dailies continued on without Barks, but yeah. And Barks didn't do more than just the handful we just saw. That's all he did.
Okay, yeah, I didn't get quite through the descriptions.
I think he found his niche. He found his world where he needed to flower and blossom.
Okay, I'll be off to my next meeting anyway.
All right.
Hope things work out in your trials with the identity.
Oh, I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will. In the long run, they will. It'll take a while though. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So your birth certificate had some damage on it, which obscured some of the writing. So that's yeah.
Well, parents can request their children's replacement copy, but in order to do that, the parent themselves has to have a picture ID. So, et cetera, et cetera.
How old's your dad now? He must be getting up towards 80, is he?
Yeah, he's 81.
Okay, and so they're getting a bit restrictive about people in that age group having driver's licenses now. I don't know if it, but it is sort of coming along.
Well, he hasn't been behind the wheel in a car probably well over 8, 9 years, but but picture ID is important. Can't do anything without it.
Oh, okay, David, thank you very much. And we'll catch up for Kenneth Smith, I assume.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'll see you.